Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of the Moon Podcast. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about cleanliness. I will begin by saying that not all activity is dirty or bad, nor should they be avoided, such as gardening. You need to get your hands dirty from time to time. I'm going to talk about the cleanliness we need on a regular basis, a form of self care. This goes back to what I mentioned in a previous video on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. One of the things I mentioned was bathing and why it's important to keep ourselves clean. Here I will elaborate more on this topic. I'm focusing more on the consistent maintenance of cleanliness and how it benefits us, physically, mentally, internally, and externally. As a result, we will live longer and be content with our lives. Not only that, we will have a cleaner, healthier world. First, let's start with internal cleanliness, starting with what we eat. If we consume things that are bad for us, we will have unclean internal organs, such as the food we eat, like junk food, for instance. The occasional snack is harmless, but the ongoing consumption builds up and makes you fat, and worse, they can poison your body. Fast food is a popular choice. They are cheap and convenient, but there are terrible consequences. They can increase your sugar level, increase your weight, increase your blood pressure, add more calories, increase cholesterol, but that's not all. It gets worse. You can get shortness of breath, it increases the likelihood of getting a stroke or heart disease, acne on your skin, bad teeth, headaches, and worst of all, depression. And let's not get started on smoking or alcohol. I mean, the effects of these ones are obvious. Smoking poisons your lungs, drinking alcohol poisons your liver. Now, I'm no saint on this matter. From time to time, I have the occasional burger or cake, especially when eating out. However, these are few and far between. These are the sort of things I would eat only when I'm on vacation, when I break out of my usual routine for short periods of time. Because if I ate my favorite snacks regularly, I will lose my health, underperform in sports, and lose concentration that will prevent me from doing my job properly. These little snacks are something to aim for, little goals to strive for, although I do my best to replace them with something healthier, like eating fruit. Everything has to be in moderation. The key here is balance. This goes back to a previous video I made about the need for health and fitness. Eating too much is bad for us, and so is eating too little. So, to keep ourselves clean on the inside, we start with a balanced, healthy diet. I recommend you take an intolerance test. You'd be surprised at what food irritates you and what foods you are allergic to. The next thing to do is to hire a qualified nutritionist who can analyze your body, your lifestyle, what your health goals are, and they can help you come up with a diet that suits you. I will admit they are not cheap, but they're a much better investment in yourself than meal replacement shakes and famous diets that may actually cause you harm in the long term. I could never have done it without my nutritionist. It took a long time, but I got used to it in the end, and now healthy eating is part of my routine. One simple thing I recommend is to cut out all the sugars and all the junk food. Now, I know this is hard for a lot of people because unhealthy eating habits are hard to break, and because they lived with these habits for years. These habits cannot be broken suddenly, otherwise, you will lose the willpower and give in to the temptations. So, the best thing to do is to reduce them over a length of time. Eventually, you will get used to living without them. Plus, drink plenty of water. For example, I used to have 2 teaspoons of sugar in my tea. So, to achieve the goal of reducing the sugar intake, I had to reduce the amount of sugar every time I had tea. I reduced my intake from 2 sugars to 1.5. A few months later, I took it down to 1 teaspoon, and so on. Now I have no sugar in my tea and lattes. Your teeth will be thankful for that. You get the idea. I don't smoke, I don't drink alcohol. The only time I would have any alcohol would be for very special occasions, which are few and far between, like on my birthday, on my best friend's birthday, or the new year. Even the quantity would be as small as possible. Better yet, I prefer alcohol-free cider. These days I drink sparkling water. Better yet, drink water. You see, the consumption of bad substances all add up, and they have bad consequences. If you don't keep your insides clean, it will affect everything else around you. So let's start by eating healthy, then we will feel much better on the inside. That way, we live longer. There is another element of internal cleanliness that I would like to add to this. This is more focused on mental health, but this also expands into physical health as well. Watching TV is bad for you. Sitting in front of the TV for long periods of time can cause heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, osteoporosis, strokes, excessive weight gain, and mood disorders like anxiety and depression. Let's face it, the vast majority of things the TV shows have negative effects on our mental health. The news is always full of negativity. Celebrity gossip and drama tend to make us feel irritated. These things are known for causing anxiety and depression. It causes cognitive decline, such as poor memory. This is exactly why I stopped watching television since 2008. I'm glad I've done it. As a result, I feel much happier. Now, you're probably wondering, okay, Mus, if you don't watch TV, then how do you keep up with the latest news? Simple. I listen to the radio and podcasts. That way, I am not distracted by a screen, nor am I held in place to watch it. I prefer to listen to those things while I do other things like chores, laundry, cooking, etc. Of course, I don't listen to one particular radio station or one podcast. I need variety as to where can get information from. I think this is very important because I think we should have multiple sources of information and it's good for our mental health. The last thing we need is what I would call consumption bias. If TV isn't bad enough, there is social media. There are dreadful side effects of what social media can do to one's mental health. We all know what happens on those things. We hear about it every day. Doom scrolling, arguing with strangers online, drama. It lowers self-esteem and causes anxiety with the constant stream of videos and images that make people compare their own lives with others that trigger feelings of inadequacy. It increases feelings of anxiety, depression, and loneliness. Getting trolled or cyberbullied, spending more time on social media than with friends and family, which leads to having negative effects on relationships and work, leading to isolation. Deprioritizing self-care, such as exercise, sleep, and mindfulness. You name it, it's all there. All of the above is caused by social media addiction. It makes the mind unclean, which leads to unclean actions, which lead to an unclean lifestyle. Social media is a waste of time with a constant stream of negativity. This leaves me wondering, why would anyone want this negativity in their life? I'm not saying we shouldn't keep up to date with current events. I'm saying there needs to be moderation. Too much is bad for us. Better yet, for the news, listening to the radio is better. Reading the news is just as good. As long as you are not hooked onto a screen, then you will be okay. Thankfully, there is a cure for all this addiction to social media. Plan a small gathering with friends and family. Take time to get out and exercise. Find a place to volunteer, doing a real activity. Spend time face-to-face time with a good friend. We can read things that we enjoy and inspire us, like books and comics. Better yet, make art and music. Look at art you would like and listen to music you enjoy. For more information on that, you can refer to one of my previous videos about the benefits of art and music. I deleted my Facebook account years ago. I was on there from 2007 to 2017. Yeah, I held out much longer than I should, but at least I've done it. I ripped off that band-aid, and I have never been more thankful for it since. I got so much of my mental health and time back. Now, you might be asking, but Mus, how do you keep in touch with friends and family? By email and by telephone. It really is that simple. Everyone has a phone book, be it an electronic one, an app on your phone, or a physical one. Although I would argue that things are better when written down so that way you have something physical to hold, such as an address book, You can buy those from a local supermarket, a stationery shop, or online. But what about bloggers and content creators? You may be asking. There's always the good old RSS feeds. Whenever someone makes a new blog post, all I have to do is check them from time to time. There are some that come with notifications for new content. There are plenty of RSS reading software you can download onto your phone and computer. So what can we do instead? We can engage in mind-building activities. We can start by reading books, fiction and non-fiction. Challenge yourself with puzzles, play some board games, better yet, engage in physical activity. You can try model making, getting a handful of clay and making something out of it. Take part in a course where you can learn new skills and interact with people. Learn a new language. Try cooking a different meal. Do some DIY or gardening. There are endless possibilities. As they say, go outside, touch grass. You can always try meditation and yoga, mindfulness. Here is something I do. When I go to my local park, I practice forest bathing, which is what the Japanese call Shinrin Yoku. Surrounding yourself with trees is a natural form of therapy. It's liberating. You are not distracted by anything. The sights and smells of nature breathe life into you. It's a form of spiritual cleansing. To be immersed in nature, you feel closer to the spirits of nature. These days, I leave my phone at home when I go for a walk. It's a liberating experience. If anyone wants to get hold of me, they can leave a message. Then I can get back to them as soon as I get home. It's a short revisit to the 90s. I even turn my phone off for a few hours and even a few days at a time. Speaking of spirits, there is one more element of internal cleanliness that is vital for our mental health. There is prayer and meditation. This is what I call spiritual cleansing. Whether you are religious or not, expressing gratitude for what you have is a wonderful way of feeling better about yourself. Once again, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a good guide for all the things we have and be thankful for in order to express gratitude. It helps to calm our minds and our souls. Praying and meditating helps us refocus on our purpose in life. It helps us reflect on our actions. Some of the things I'm thankful for are the following when I pray to the gods every night before bedtime. I am thankful for the day I had. I am thankful for the strength I was given to overcome the challenges I had today. My health is in good order. I ate today. I have a home where I can sleep tonight. I have friends and family whom I love. I have a purpose and a goal in my life. You know, very simple little things that make a big positive impact on you. So that way, you have the ability to make other people's lives better. So we can make the world better too. This is because I believe we get back what we give to this world. So now we move on to external cleanliness, starting with our body. Bathing. This is an obvious one. Here are the benefits of bathing. It reduces muscle tension, improves blood circulation, reduces sugar levels, boosts the immune system, improves reproductive health, reduces stress, removes sweat and toxins, makes you look and feel better. You know when people have a bad day and they take a bath? There is a reason for that. It makes us feel better. Bathing is also a cure for depression. No amount of deodorant will cover the foul smell of sweat. It will actually make you smell worse. I should know. I made that mistake once. Nothing beats an actual bath. It's also a good stress relief. It helps you take time out of everything. This is the time to focus on yourself only for a short period of time. You will look good and smell good. You come out feeling better, and best of all, you get a good night's sleep. In Japan, bathing is considered to be a ritual of self-care and expressing the love and care for one's own body. It's a spiritual activity. Now we move on to the next part of external cleanliness. It's the environment around us, starting with where we live, our homes. A cluttered house is a messy house. A cluttered house leads to a cluttered mind. Clutter is when we have items we don't use that take up space. There may be objects obstructing other objects from reach or view. You struggle to find the things you need. Things are gathering dust. The more we have, the more mental discomfort we feel. And it's worse when the house is in a constant state of a mess and hasn't been cleaned for a long time. This can have negative effects on our minds. It increases stress, procrastination, and they can cause conflict with your family, your partner, your friends over excessive amounts of belongings taking up too much space, which leads to frustration. When you have a messy house, it leads to a messy mind. A dirty place makes you feel dirty on the inside as well. You have trouble focusing. There is also the mental trap of needing something later on, or just in case. Well then, if you feel that way, I think the best thing to ask yourself is, when was the last time you used it, and how often is it used? If it is hardly ever used, then it's better to get rid of it for the sake of a cleaner, decluttered house and a clearer mind. So where do we go from here? How do we declutter? This may seem overwhelming at first, but it takes time and effort in order to succeed. For starters, get a duster and a vacuum cleaner and remove all the dust and clean all the filth you can find. To declutter, start somewhere small, like a drawer or a cupboard. Throw away what you don't need or used in a long time. Or, if you can, donate them to a charity shop, so that way they can be used by someone who needs it. At least you are fulfilling someone else's needs. So, piece by piece, when you declutter your house, you have a cleaner house, a decluttered mind, less anxiety, less depression, less things, a freer and a more liberated mind, free from stress. A clean house will also make you feel better. It's good for hygiene too. Now, from here, we move to environmental cleanliness, such as recycling. I separate my garbage into two bins, one for general waste and one for recycling. Not only that, when I see litter in my local park, I simply pick it up and throw it in the bin. I know it's not much, but it's the least I can do. It's an expression of love for Mother Nature and of the gods. If you see any litter, do feel free to pick it up and throw it in the bin. Small changes make a big difference. After all, it is our responsibility to look after the planet. I hardly ever use a car these days, only when it's essential or in case of emergencies. I much prefer places that are within walking distance. When a destination is too far from me, I use public transport. If you see something dirty in your area, feel free to clean it. At least you are doing something for the community. The world becomes cleaner that way. And finally, the last piece of external cleanliness I'd like to add to this is social cleanliness. It's about the people around you who have a positive effect on you. People are affected not only by their environments, but also the people they surround themselves with. For example, if you surround yourself with people who are miserable, then they will also make you feel miserable. People who gossip, complain, and condemn all the time is hardly a positive crowd. In fact, these are the sort of people who will drag you down. In fact, unhappy people will have habits that make themselves unhappy. People who are rude, argumentative, competitive, talk about the news all the time, complaining about their jobs, the mundanity of their lives, negative self-talk, being pessimistic, poor body language, etc. Does any of that sound familiar? I'm sure we all know someone like that. The chances are they are not living a clean life or practicing any of the things I mentioned earlier. I bet they are addicted to social media. Doom scrolling, no doubt. How many times have you heard people talk about who said what on Facebook or Twitter? On top of that, they watch TV and eat junk food. They don't bathe enough or practice gratitude, let alone live in a tidy house or flat. So what's the best thing to do in terms of cleanliness? What we need are people we can grow with, people who help us feel better. We need words of support and encouragement. We need people to listen to, as well as people to listen to us. This goes back to what I said about kindness and politeness. This all relates to what makes a good friend, which is what I also talked about in another video. Part of the reason why I created this podcast is so that I can build a community in which we can all grow and feel better, get enlightened. When we are surrounded with like-minded people, we're on the right track to building a much better world than how we found it. After all, it is part of our responsibility for ourselves and of each other. It is here, I repeat, by being polite and kind, we make people feel better. It shows empathy, understanding, and demonstrates acknowledgement. What prompted me to cover this topic was that I've read a book called The Essence of Shinto by Motohisa Yamakage, who is a Japanese Shinto priest. I highly recommend this book. In this book, he not only talks about Shintoism and its philosophy, the Japanese practice what's called misogi, which means purification, which involves cleaning the physical body and the mind. Misogi is expressed outwardly through the actions of bathing in water. There are 4 types of purification. 1. Purification with water. 2. Purification of the body. 3. The breaking of contact with unclean spirits. And 4. Keeping one's thoughts clean. This all goes back to what I've been talking about regarding the different types of cleanliness. They are all linked. So therefore, I think this is a good guide to help us keep clean. After all, cleanliness is a basic need for all of us. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this has been helpful to you. Take good care of yourselves.